If she's willing to believe such an obvious lie, she deserves what she gets. I just don't have the energy to put up with idiots. She makes me want to punch kittens.
You heard that correctly. Welcome to the world of Soul Nomad and the World Eaters, a strategy role-playing game developed and published by Nippon Ichi Software in 2007 for the PlayStation 2. Nippon Ichi may be a familiar name to you if you have dabbled in this genre before, as they are predominantly known for the Disgaea and Phantom Brave series. But what if I told you that this is the first SRPG I have played and beaten? Shocking, right? Well, maybe it's not that dramatic, but this is the first title I've gotten the credit scenes on in this genre, which is significant for me, personally. On this channel, I cover a lot of JRPGs, platformers, and action-adventure games. These are all genres I clearly enjoy and always have. I, however, have also heard lots of praise for other titles such as the Fire Emblem series, Final Fantasy Tactics, and other Square Enix published endeavors. While some of these games have been out for years, and in the past I have tried them and it never stuck, this time it was different. I figured if I was going to give this genre an actual chance, I wanted something that was on sale, not an established series, and fairly old. My philosophy behind those criteria was for two reasons. Reason one is that a good game is a good game, regardless of its age. And reason two is that older titles in general are simpler in mechanics, menus, and execution than the new ones. Trying a new genre is a feat in itself, but also trying something new that is layered with in-game menus, customizations, DLC, etc. makes it all the more intimidating. So with that being said, I want you to join me on my adventure through Soul Nomad and the World Eaters to answer the most important question of all. Was Soul Nomad and the World Eaters good? And my overall thoughts on the strategy RPG genre as a newly inducted member. Now to answer all of that, I will be assessing the gameplay, the story, the voice acting, and its replayability. So,
otherwise, I really will kill you all.
Starting with the gameplay, the loop of it goes like this. First, a stage is generated with terrain that can either be beneficial or detrimental to your units. Secondly, you then traverse through this terrain via grid movement that varies depending on the stats of the unit leader. Along the way, you can also set traps, activate the leader's special skills for your parties, and use items if need be. Lastly, on contact, which is dependent on that unit's range, you get that traditional turn-based action where both parties take turns throwing down at the playground. On paper, this loop sums up a majority of SRPGs out there, however, it's their execution that makes them unique. With so many different units available in this game, in combination with the rooms and equipment for said rooms known as decor, things get interesting quite quickly. The units in this game are self-explanatory, as some excel at the middle or front of the line, while others who are more frail, like a mage, should be in the back. But it is important to note that unit leaders do get buffs that can be cast during battle, and special attacks to help clear out some of those annoying enemies. But back to the rooms, as this is where I got absolutely locked in. You see, not only do certain rooms offer effects such as boost an attack per tile moved, but they also happen to be randomized when it comes to allotted units. This means that you could get God RNG at the start of the game and get a room capable of having 9 units in it. However, there is a catch. Each room can upgrade via inspection, which pits the player against randomized units with increasing power levels. After clearing the inspection, the power of that room will increase as well as the unit slots. So with a bit of time investment, a weak starter room can turn quite appealing over time. And let's not forget about the shops that you can buy items and decor from as well. You can even fight the shopkeeper once you have maxed out that shop's level to get a new shopkeeper with better items. I found that robbing aspect of the game in general to be hilarious, as I have not seen that done before, and there are even a few NPCs that carry some spicy pieces of equipment. Now that I have got you excited, let's move on to the story. It starts in a hidden village where the main character and a girl by the name of Danette happens to live. Naturally, they are gifted weapons by an old lady named Elena to protect the village. However, the sword given to the main character is no ordinary one. Within that blade lies the soul of Gig, who is the master of death, or at least he was. This allows a player access to power that is not meant for the world, but as you guessed it, this power is just what the doctor ordered to take down the world eaters that have begun popping up around the country of Raid. So, along the way, the trio gets themselves into trouble, and meets others who also want to rid the world of those pesky eaters, and that's the gist of it. The plot on the first playthrough is nothing of note. It is your traditional little village kid who goes off to save the world story. But starting with New Game Plus, it does get interesting as you can dominate the world instead of saving it, and I mean literally. While its execution may not be heart-wrenching, I will say that there are a few moments it's at least entertaining. Outside of Gig's relentless beating of a dead horse remarks, of course. Next on the list just happens to be voice acting, so let's start with the Master of Death himself, as the main character of the game, who is commonly called Revya, is just your run-of-the-mill silent protagonist.
Rivers of blood, mountains of flesh, a glorious world of pain! Feeble humans, crushed like the insects that they are!
Gig is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, who is known around these parts for being the voice of the edgy anime boys such as Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto, Haseo from .hack GU, great game by the way, and Luca from Bayonetta.
What the heck? Where's that incredibly annoying voice coming from? Wait, it's coming from you! Oh my god, is it him?
Danette is voiced by Amanda Wynn Lee, who also voices Rei Ayanami from Evangelion, Ichiko Oya from Persona 5, and even Magnolia Arch from Bravely Second in Lair. Going down the list, there's also Shauna, who is voiced by Karen Strassman, Levin, who is voiced by Liam O'Brien, and What Would This Be Without Endorf, who is voiced by Troy Baker.
Maybe I should be asking you who you are. You just threw yourselves up against the World Eater. You must have known the danger. I saw what you were doing and I figured I'd try the same thing.
Troy also voices Batman in many iterations, as well as Snow Villers from Final Fantasy XIII, and even Booker DeWitt from Bioshock Infinite. So, if there is one thing you could take away from this, it is the casting of this game is phenomenal, and it should be since it's not a visually appealing game by any standards, even back in 2007. Last but not least, let's also talk about its replayability. As stated previously in the story segment, a New Game Plus or two gives a player an entirely different perspective on the story, as the game will let you break it if you so desire. In classic JRPG fashion, you always get floored by an enemy early on in the game. However, here you can floor the first World Eater instantly, but it does not end there either. By completing the game, you gain access to the Demon Forest attack, which is great for taking out units in a straight line. This, in combination with the secret guide decor from the room and a few specific others, is a recipe for all kinds of levels. Additionally, after the story has been cleared, you also gain access to the best units in the game called Gideon and some New Game Plus exclusive characters. So as you can see, the game offers more than just a single playthrough. That level of detail is something that I appreciate, as it shows that extra bit of effort put into the product to make it more enjoyable time and time again. If you manage to get through the original story, chances are you will have no issues coming back for another run or two, especially with your now powered up units. With all of that out of the way now, it is time to address the most important question of all. Was Soul Nomad and the World Eaters good? Without a doubt, this game is a great time as long as you're willing to look past some of its flaws. I went into this genre with very little hope as it never stuck before, but after a few hours the gears started turning and I was ready for more. Gameplay, as stated previously, is ever changing, fun and difficult if you like to test the waters a lot with different compositions. Story-wise, the first run is somewhat generic, however the subsequent playthroughs let you be the bad guy for once, which is arguably even more satisfying. The voice acting is great and much needed due to the game's low resolution, and trust me, those characters love to talk. Lastly is the replayability, which once you get the secret guide setup going after your first clear, becomes a breeze to get to the fun parts without excessive investment. If there is one thing I've taken away from this experience, it's the importance of being open to a new genre, even if you have tried it previously. It just so happens that this rough around the edges game was what I needed to get my foot into the door, and now I'm ready for more. So, I challenge you to go out and try something new, but keep it short and simple. Getting into a series that is long in the tooth with convoluted builds or setups will naturally be intimidating. I, however, have said enough. So, Soul Nomad and the World Eaters, please take it away.
Wow! So this is that... thing? It's so... big.